Hi, this is the first episode of a 3-episode interview that I did with Shelley Fabares from the Donna Reed Show and Coach, and her husband, Mike Farrell, who was BJ Honeycutt on MASH. These are just terrific moments with these two. I absolutely love doing these interviews. And so enjoy the first episode and watch for the others. Well, fantastic. Today on That's Classic, this is a really fun one. I mean, it's kind of neat to be able to do this. But today we have none other than, I'll give quick introductions, the star of the Donna Reed Show and Coach, Shelley Fabares, and the star of MASH, BJ Honeycutt, of course, Mike Farrell. So they're on today, and they're gonna answer fan questions. So welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to have you call us, and we're happy to be here.
Absolutely.
Well, great. It's going to be fun. So I'll tell you what, I'll just start it off and we'll see where we go. Here we go. All right. Our first one is from Joan. This is for Shelley. Loved Girl Happy and Clam Bake. I've watched them so many times. Mm-hmm. What was it like when Elvis sang to you? You both had such loving looks for each other.
Well, thank you, Joan. Well, they were always sort of the same. When they would photograph either him or me, the cameras would be very close to us, and they would have a close lens on it too. So, and always all the other people that are on the set, they're all in your vision too, because they're all right behind him and behind me for him to look at. So he and I had a good time working together, and we laughed a lot. And I would say that my main memory of doing those shows and those shots is that I felt a real connection with him, and I think he did with me too. And I think that's what people sort of responded to. They thought, I do get letters, they say, "Oh gosh, you and Elvis were just so good together, and you just really seemed like you liked each other." And I'd say, "Well, we did." And anyway, so that's a sort of a thumbnail version of what those shots were like.
Well, tell me this, when you do have all those people behind him, I mean, yes. Is it hard to kind of, tunnel vision it into just him?
Yes, it is. It's one of the things you have to learn how to do when you're an actor, because you do so much, particularly when you become aware of it. So much of the movie is done in close-up, so that you have to really make it look like you're looking at that person. But I know that there are actors and actresses who didn't have the actual person there. They would have a stand-in or somebody doing the dialogue with them, and because they had to go off to another shot or something like that. And that I always thought was really amazing, and I had to do it quite a few times. And I did a Barnaby Jones, I think was the name of the show, the series. Yeah. And they had just given him a break to go and change his wardrobe for the next scene. But then they realized they had a few minutes. So they said, "Shelley, come on up." So I was standing there with a stand-in playing Buddy Epson.
Must have been a tall guy.
He was. Anyway, so you have to get used to doing that. And you have to make sure that your focus is on the person that you're doing the scene with, not the other 25 people that are standing behind you.
Yeah, I got you. Do you think Elvis was happy with his career at that time?
Well, no.
Yeah. Tell me the truth. Yeah, I've always wondered that. Yeah.
Well, I think that I think he had happiness at different times when he was working, and as most of us do, you go through something and you think, "Oh, that was fun," but I think he was, particularly in the last couple of movies that I did with him, the last two, I did 3 with him from the end, from the beginning of my time with him. Mm-hmm. And I think he was somewhat less pleased with the the speech that he was given to say, the speeches and I think he had been doing those movies for a long time, and you can interchange the movies and just, I'll come in with a different hairdo, and then he'll come in with a different hairdo, and then we'll change. Anyway, we don't really do that, but you can kind of put them all together and you have one of the films. So I don't think I think he was capable of doing so much more than those movies have ever asked of him. And I think that I would have to say, through knowing him as I did, I don't think I think he had a good time making the films, but because they were fun. And,
sure.
But I don't think he was happy with the work that he was getting given to do. Is that a complete sentence? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I thought it was a wonderful sentence. I thought it was terrific. Yeah. No,
Thank you.
that was great. No, that was great. I always wondered because, obviously there's that story that, hey, he was making $1 million a picture and Colonel Parker was behind it. Just, keep him going, buddy. That kind of thing. So I've always wondered about that. Yeah.
Well, I never saw, people ask me always, what was Colonel Parker like? And I say, well, I never met him. One day he was on the set, but I just saw him kind of outside of a dressing room for a few minutes, and then he was gone. He didn't say anything to anybody, certainly not to me. And I think he must have had some conversation with Elvis at that point. But whatever their conversations were about his leading his career, I think those conversations were had before they were shooting, and it would be already decided what, if he was going to do something or not. And I would say if he didn't want to do something, I think he would make those feelings very clear, and always in a polite way. He never made anybody feel put down, but I think it was a complicated mix. I have no experience of being around the two of them. Yeah. So I don't know what their, back and forth was.
Wow. Okay. Fantastic. That was a nice start, by the way. Mike, we got a few here within a question, just so you know. What was it? Oh, by the way, this is from Trumpton Mayor. That's his handle, I guess.
Okay.
What was it like working with Lynda Day George and the great Telly Savalas in She Cried Murder, 1973?
Oh, gosh.
Or working with Cheryl Ladd in Vows of Deception, 1996.
Wow.
What a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice span.
I don't think I did a lot of work with Lynda. I worked with Telly a fair amount in that show. The one memory I have of that show, excuse me, is when we were in a gunfight, and they set off a charge right near me, and it deafened me for a short time. Wow. The bullet's supposed to hit near you, and they set a charge, and it scared the hell out of me, actually.
Wow.
I didn't work much with Lynda. She seemed nice, but I can't tell you much about her. And the other movie, remind me the question.
Yep. What was it like working with Cheryl Ladd on Vows of Deception?
Yeah, Cheryl was sweet. I liked her. And we did work together some of the time. She, I think women in that situation, the young, well, they were stars by that time, not starlets, as they called them in the business sometimes. There's a lot of pressure on them. And Cheryl seemed to have a sense of humor about it, which I thought was great. Because you have to in order to survive. There's so much demanded particularly of women in the business, in terms of behavior, but in terms of how they look and how they come across, and whether or not the fans are going to respond, and blah blah blah. because that's really what all the studio and the agents care about.
Yeah, exactly. I could
yeah.
totally see that.
Yeah, but I thought she was terrific. I thought she was fun and nice and friendly and easy to work with.
Was Telly, by the way, I mean, he's one of those guys that I don't care what I've ever seen him. I don't care if it was Kojak or Dirty Dozen or whatever. He always seems so big. You know what I mean? Was he like that?
I know very much what you mean. Yes, he was. Telly was a very, very gregarious guy, but one can assume from his history that it was a bit of a climb to get to where he got in the business, and it probably wasn't expected, all that was hoped for. And when he became a star, he just kept being Telly. It was just like he was just full of hell and full of, if I can say this on your show, bullshit. Yeah. And I liked him a lot. We got along very well, and he was just a dynamic kind of giving you hell is just because I can kind of guy.
I love hearing that because that's exactly what I've always thought of him when I've seen him, that he would be like that. Okay, Shelley, this is related again to Elvis. Probably no shocker, a few of those are coming up because in our first interview we didn't talk about it. I think I heard from about 20 people saying you didn't talk to her about Elvis. So I'm getting them now. But this one was, what were your fondest memories? What's like one of your fondest memories of working with Elvis?
Before she gets into this, I'm going to turn the light on.
Yeah, okay, sure.
The room is getting a little dark.
You still look good though. Honestly, you do. I don't really notice. I don't notice much. Yeah. it's like no different. Great light. Great light. Go ahead.
Let's see. My favorite memories of working with him. First of all, I guess there's a scene that he and I did together one time, and I have only seen it once, and I don't. It wasn't the scene that I remembered. It was a scene where he was supposed to be entertaining me at my birthday party for my father, who was very rich, was giving me a birthday party, and Elvis was supposed to sing to me to this, one of his lovely songs, and he and I, for some reason, well, I know why, the first line of the the first line, I have musical accompaniment. They follows me everywhere. No, I don't know if you could hear it there, but it's Mike's radio computer thing. Anyway,
yes,
the shot was supposed to be composed of him coming in and me sitting in his chair, looking very. I'm supposed to have a big crush on him, and I was a very spoiled girl in this movie. So I was prim and proper and always had my eye out for him. So he starts singing this song. I can't remember the name of the song right now.
Yeah.
But the first word in the sentence, I don't remember the word either, but it was something like people pray. And when I had a wig on in that show, they put me in a red wig. And when he said people pray, as often happens if you say it yourself, little explosions of your breath come out. And,
yeah, right.
But I had this wig on, and so we were sitting very close to one another. And he said, he hit the first people pray, and both sides of my hair went flying up. And, I could see it because it was on the side of my face, but he was looking directly at me, and he started to laugh. And he got that, look, when you can tell always when actors are about to go up.
Yes.
Their eyes just start to twinkle,
Oh.
and when that happens, first of all, it's one of the most pleasurable things of doing those movies, because there were lots of times to laugh about things like that. But that was a particularly funny one that I felt that the rest of the set, the cast and crew, were probably sitting in their chairs going, what time is it? How long are they going to keep stopping the film and starting it again? And we laughed. We were like two school kids who got the giggles in class, and I get straightened up and I say, okay. So then the minute it would start, I hear the first opening strains of the music, and I would be gone. You could see, I can't do it now, but my lips would be quivering and my eyes would be going. And then it would go back to him, and same thing. It's just, I don't know how long. It seems like it took us 4 years to do that. We had a great time doing it, but a lot of fun. And there's so many memories of working with him and the movies were always great fun to do. And, but they weren't great movies. We were kind of all aware of that, but they were such fun to make. And everybody that was with him and around him and the other people in the cast, everybody got along always very well. And there was always music playing. It was lovely.
Wow. That was great. That was really fun. I love that. I would have been really busting a gut. Okay. Yeah. If you want to get in on the fun of That's Classic, go to my merchandise store. You can get a t-shirt, a mug, or a variety of items. The QR code is right here on the screen. That'll take you right to the site, or I'll put it in the description below the video. Have fun. Enjoy. Let's go back to the interview. This is for Mike. This is from Rick. Mike, do you have any recollections of working with Mike Connors on Mannix?
Oh.
Hi, Rick. I knew Mike Connors slightly. We didn't. I don't remember in that show if I ever had a scene with him. I think that's the one where I was the bad guy, and I remember hating doing it because the director kept wanting more indications of what's happening,
Yeah.
I'm an actor who likes to sort of give you real.
Yeah, right.
And he took a shot of me, a picture of me in the window where I was looking in at something, and he said, I need to see more. more anger, more, there's more of this. More. I thought, geez, man, just I'm looking in a bloody window.
Yeah.
Connors was a really nice man, really a good guy. And the show was a big hit.
Yeah.
And I was a punk actor, happy to have a day's work, probably. And thrilled to be there, but and as I said, I knew him only slightly, but I really admired him.
Yeah, he's kind of one of those. I don't mean to say he's an enigma, but he's like one of those. Like I always thought he had a great presence on film, everything like that. You never hear anything about him. You know what I mean? Like he's one of those people that just kind of time went on, and that was it. You never heard anything.
Yep, that's right, and it does. There are some people like that. They're very quiet people, and quiet people aren't always the ones that get the attention from the press.
Yeah, but nothing taken away from his career. It was great. So this is from Suze. There's a question for Mike, then there's a question for Shelley. First one, it's for Mike again. Was filming MASH ever dangerous?
Well, I suppose when there are explosions and the helicopter stuff, and there are always moments where they have to be mindful. There was one where tank. A tank was to run down the swamp. Tank was to collapse the swamp, come in the front door, or not come in, go over.
Wow.
And Gene Reynolds, the director at the time, Gene was a wonderful guy who helped create the show and directed a lot of them. He said, okay, so we're going to have to figure out, you guys get out, how you get out. And I said, I got an idea, Gene. And he said, what's that? And I said, we can just cut a little bit of because the walls of the swamp were canvas at best. Mm-hmm. And I said, we can just cut them cut this side here under this 2x4 in a way that it'll tear when I hit it, and I'll dive out the window. He said, well, Mike, that sounds a little scary, because what if
yeah.
What if something happens and you don't get out and the tank rolls over you? That wouldn't be a good thing.
Yeah.
And I said, no, come on, it'll work. Let's give it a try.
Wow.
And we did it. And BJ dove out the side and tore the side of the tent, the swamp, open in the process, and rolled out. And I suppose there was some danger.
Yeah, there was a lot of danger.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I'm glad you cleared it. Jeez. Boy.
Yeah. But it just sounded to me like a fun thing at the time. And it would be a great shot of this thing is coming and what do we do? And bang, this guy goes out through the wall, sort of, although what we did in the swamp, we had sort of material walls, not walls.
Right.
But, other than that, there was, they were very careful about explosions, and they were very careful. Well, they were very careful about everything. The special effects people who were on the show and were responsible for that sort of thing were terrific. And we just mostly had a ball.
Yeah, I believe it. I totally believe it. I was going to tell you, by the way, you mentioned Gene Reynolds, and I can't remember who I talked to, but I thought you'd like knowing. You might know this already, but they told me that Gene Reynolds was he was a child actor himself, and that his claim, like he told one of the other, whoever I was talking to, I can't remember now, but he told them that his claim to fame, the reason they would hire him over and over, he could cry. He was like he cries in like everything he's in, and he could cry on a dime. Yeah.
So I didn't know that.
That's great.
I'm actually going to be doing, his widow is putting together a thing over here at a place in LA, because a lot of the people where she lives want to know about Gene and want to know about MASH and stuff. And she called and asked if I'd come over, and Alan Katz, one of our writers on the show, we're just going to sit around and talk about Gene and talk about what a wonderful, wonderful guy he was.
Oh, what a blast. Please, I'd love to be a fly on the wall on that one.
Yes, right.
Isn't that cool? Okay, this is for Shelley. Same from Suze. Okay. What are some of your fondest memories, Shelley, of just being in show business? I guess maybe one. That's a tough one, boy. That's like, you've been around like into so many different projects, but anyone that kind of pops into your head that you think of, like that was a great time or anything?
Yes, actually, there's several, so I'll try to cull them down.
Mike, you want to go get a sandwich? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, gosh. Anyone who knows me knows that I tend to, if I'm answering a question, I tell the whole story. The way out to dinner. Yeah, and Mike will be nudging me like, that's you've already told that part of the story. And I go, yeah. Anyway, so I'll try to
do your best. Whatever, it's fine. I'm not on the clock. Go ahead.
Okay, there were many experiences that were fabulous and that I look back on with great memories and great emotional times. And because of the lasting effect that the show had for me and on me, doing the Donna Reed show, starting it when I was 14, and did it for the 8 years, actually 9 years it was on. I didn't do the last year, but the four of us, Donna, Carl, Paul Petersen, and me, were really like a family. I see so many people on television, on the talk shows, and they say, "Oh, we're really like a family," and I always kind of go, "No, you weren't." I know that some of them were, but a lot of shows, like when you put a lot of people together, you have the problems with people, even if they're not problematic people.
Oh, sure.
Situations can arise. And honestly, with the Donna Reed show, Donna was truly like my second mother. Paul was my brother. And we fought like brother and sister all the time.
Wow.
And it was such an intense experience doing it for so many years. When we finished doing the series, we used to get together once a month and have lunch together, all of the four of us. And
is that great?
Yeah, it is. And then finally, the show stopped filming, but the four of us still talked to each other and made a date once a month. So we met at this one restaurant, and we went and we had tales to tell, and it was wonderful. So it really became, and you're at the studio a long time when you're filming. Things take endless amounts of time, and this is perfect. I've forgotten what I was going to tell you. I spent so long introducing it, telling you.
Well, you said plenty right there on that. That was fantastic. Whatever.
Oh gosh, I'll think of it later, and I'll call you back on the link line. Right. Anyway, that had a special place in my heart and in my mind, in my memory, and other shows were wonderful in their own ways. Some of the half-hour shows that I did, or hour shows, and then the other series that I did, each one you become so entranced and enhanced by the people you're working with that you just have, it finishes and you remember it as a pleasurable kind of out-of-body experience. And that sounds a little overdrawn, but that's what it was like, because you become so involved with those people, and your life at that time really centers around those people and what they're doing and what you're doing with them. Anyway, so I would have to say Donna Reed show overall, and I love doing Coach. I had said that if they ask me, if somebody came up to me and asked me and said, "Okay, we want to use you in a show, and this fantasy is that we're going to write a show around you, and you're going to be like the star of the show, and what would you like to do?" And I'd never been asked that in my life. So I remember feeling like, oh my God, I have no idea what to say. But what I said was, the truth is, I know the kind of show I would like to do. It would be a light comedy, because that's what I did the most of, and I enjoyed doing it. So that show, I said to somebody, after I had started the show, I then said to several people who asked the same question in interviews, what was your best, and what did you enjoy the most? And I would have to say, I said, Coach is the show that I would have designed for myself to be in.
Wow.
Because it's exactly the tone of the show that was right, I thought, for me. And I had my second mother there, and my brother that I didn't really have, and my stepfather. Anyway, so that's
you're making up Coach and Donna Reed.
Oh, I did, didn't I? Yeah.
Well, you kind of mixed the two in, but you did say that if you had a second show to create, that would be it. Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
would. And then I'll make this short.
I love it. I love when. Why do we always say that? I'll make a short story or a long story short. It's like, you know what? You know it's not. Why not? Just say it.
I haven't told a short story in my life, I don't think. But the movies that I did with Elvis were incredible fun. They were all movies and television shows are hard to do in different ways. But you have short attention spans that you have to keep very focused for. Everybody's always under the gun. They always have to shoot much more than they have time for. And so I think of this one assistant director that we had for years, and he would say, "Okay, boys, let's get going. Get a grip. We got to get it taken." And then he'd say, "Okay, is that good with everybody? Okay." And then he'd say, "Okay, now we can go on." But you knew that there were cameramen, lighting people, all of the people who are back there, all saying what the people said when I was telling the first story. Like,
yep.
When are they going to stop laughing? And this one, when is she going to get to the point of the story? Anyway, those were special times. They were great fun to do, and to be working with Elvis was amazing. That I got the first picture with him, I couldn't believe, and then I did a second and a third. So I felt very, very blessed. It was a wonderful time in my life. Yeah.
I think it's great. I do. I think it's great. And something that I take away from you and I take away from Mike is that you're thankful. And I love that, because
Yes.
I occasionally I talk to someone and I'm thinking, I just don't know if they realize just how fortunate they've had it,
Yes,
So,
I do know what you mean. And we've heard people like that. And we're two people that absolutely say thank you every night. Thank you, God, or whoever it is up there.
right.
Thank you for giving this to us. And we've both had wonderful experiences, personally and professionally, and very, very lucky.
Oh yeah, big time, big time. Okay, this is actually for both of you first. I don't know, the call sign's 12 Gail, so maybe it's Gail. I've never asked her.
Okay.
But do you have any new projects or anything that you two are working together or apart on at the moment, whether it's related to the industry or not right now?
I would say no, but that's for a reason. Mike, I haven't been working for a number of years because when Coach ended, I actually came down with an illness, and I had I couldn't work for years. And not that anybody was asking me; they weren't knocking on the door saying, "Can you come and do our show?" But the fact is, if I had wanted to, there was nobody who saw me at that time to do work. Anyway, so and Mike has just continued on doing series after series after series. And Mike is always very busy with, I'll stop, I won't tell his story, but working with the entities that he works with, things that what am I trying to say? Shows, not the shows, but the professional things you do. What
professional thing?
No, I mean
the extra professional.
Yes, the extra
human rights work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what to put into all that. Yes, I'm still involved within the human rights community. I've traveled the world, as I think some people know.
Yeah, we talked in the first interview. We talked actually pretty extensively about some of the stuff you've done. It's mind-boggling, actually, but yeah.
Still working very hard, trying to fix the problems with prisons and our criminal justice system and do away with the death penalty. as far as the motion picture industry is concerned, I've got a project that I've been trying to do for years. We are now talking to people, and you get sick of talking to people.
Yeah.
I just got an offer to do a low budget. I just did a low budget film. It's a young kids film, and I did it because it's about something that I think is important. It's about kids involved with social media and how it can really foul up their lives.
Yeah, very relevant.
Yeah, so that was worth doing. And there's one that has just come my way, and I'll have to take a look further at it, about somebody, an end of life film about somebody who's been suddenly diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer, and how he decides what to do.
Wow.
Those are pretty strong stuff. And I do a one-man show about the climate, which I think is a big issue for people to take into consideration more and more all the time, particularly given the change recently in our federal government.
Yeah.
And it's based on the work of Dr. Keeling, David Keeling, who really was the first one to understand the problem with CO2 and how it was raising the temperature, what we refer to as global warming.
Mm-hmm.
People don't like to use the term because they're sort of anti any idea that there might be some problem with climate coming up.
Right.
And climate change. So I do this periodically on stage, a one-man show about Keeling and his life and his work. So I keep my hands in the fact that it's been time to retire for a long time, I suppose. But I figure as long as there are ideas and things that I can contribute to, then why not?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm a big believer in, you got to keep the mind going. You got to keep walking. You got to keep, you know what I mean? That's the key. It's just that easy. Just keep challenging yourself, whatever that might be, that's really something. I was also going to say, when Shelley brought up about, Coach ended, and by the way, obviously I'm sorry that they had to go through that period. But it is funny how many actors I talk to that they might not have had any health issues or anything that came up, but they end a huge series like Coach or MASH or whatever, and they cannot get hired for anything in Hollywood. I mean, so many that I've talked to, it's astounding to me, But I have a background as an actor, so I understand it on some level because I know the mentality of the business, but as common sense, I don't understand it. It's just such a typical story, though. It's just so funny you would say that.
It's true of so many people, and both Mike and I have been working for many years.
Mm-hmm.
So I had opportunity to meet a lot of people in different situations, and then we'll see somebody on television, and either Mike or I will go, I thought that person had died.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I won't mention any names, but you do think, God, they haven't been around, and television, because it's so particularly intimate. People watching television shows. I don't think so much anymore, but
mm-hmm.
long time people connected with the characters that they were really. We still get letters from people who saying, I felt like I was part of the Stone family.
Yeah.
And you read the letter and you understand they really did feel that way. And but then they're suddenly gone. They're suddenly not there anymore. And it turns out that the show just was over with, or almost over with, and they let different people go. But it's a hard it's a hard process. It's a hard business. I love the years that I've been able to do this show, this series, or these series.
Yeah.
And but it is difficult. It really is.
Yeah, it's not an easy business, that's for sure.
If I can just throw in a thought here.
We don't have time.
Wait, I was just going to tell another story.
When
Go ahead.
When MASH was over, I was offered an opportunity to do, I don't know how many shows that were really essentially BJ Goes Home. And I thought, come on, folks, you know, there are other things to do. And I wasn't anxious to do another show at that time. 16 years later, I was sent a script and I said, this is too good to be on. It'll never get on the air. And I said, if it gets on the air, I'd be thrilled. And it was Providence. It was a show I did for.
Oh, yeah, sure. Remember it well.
Another 5 years with a wonderful cast and just great fun. And until an idiot at the network level decided it was he was going to cancel it.
Of course.
But that always happens. But I think the point I was going to make about it's a business consideration when somebody becomes very identified and identifiable. That can be a tough thing for an audience. And probably the classic story is, I believe the movie was KLUTE. Mm-hmm. Wonderful, wonderful film. And if I'm correct, that in KLUTE, there was a moment where Gene Stapleton played a character as a secretary in something short scene, but because they knew her from Archie Bunker, it took people out of the movie. And the director said, I wanted to shoot myself because here is a case where a wonderful actress who did a lovely job in a little tiny role took everybody out of the movie for a minute because they said, oh, there's Edith Bunker or whatever. So that's a consideration.
Yeah, I get it.
When you do a series for a long time and people have an identification with you as that character.
Yes.
It's sometimes hard for another director in another project to say, yeah, I think he or she is great, but I'm not sure we can overcome this character that was sort of around her all the time.
Oh yeah, that's a great example, by the way. I can see it there for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. I get it. So okay, here's Gail had a couple. This is for Mike. I listened when you and Loretta Switt were on Alan Alda's podcast. Would you do another? You guys were so terrific together.
Oh, that's nice. Switt, it is.
Switt. Oh yeah, she wrote Switt. Sorry, you're right. Switt.
A lot of people say Loretta.
Just reading it word for word there. Yeah.
Yeah, we were great friends for years and years. And every time there's an opportunity that somebody says, oh, can we get the MASH cast back together? We all say, sure, we'd love to. Be happy to talk about it. Alan has done it. I don't see any particular reason that he'd want to do it again.
Right.
He's got his own things he wants to talk to, other things he wants to talk about. But the relationship was a great one, and you don't forget those things very easily.
No, not at all. Shelley, you kind of talked a bit about Paul and Carl and Donna, but Gail again wants to know: are you and Paul Petersen still involved with the Donna Reed Foundation? I love that you are so close to one another. You truly are a sister and brother. And how often do you see each other? So I guess, are you still involved with the Donna Reed Foundation, and how often do you see Paul?
I'm no longer actively involved in the Donna Reed Foundation. I part of the illness that I had, I couldn't do anything after I stopped doing the show. And so the festival went on every year. And so I missed it for several years and then just didn't get back into it. But I was always involved with with the foundation and with the shows that we tried to do, and et cetera, et cetera. But it was slowing down. I know that the Donna Reed Foundation still exists, and they still do shows and things that they enjoy doing. But no, I was not. I just wasn't physically up to doing it, and so no, I didn't do it anymore.
How often do you see Paul?
Well, I was with him 2 days ago. We
Wow.
actually did a show similar to this. Somebody was doing a show, and they had gotten a lot of requests for Paul and me to do it. So Paul can tell a story just great, and he also has a memory like a trap.
He does. He does.
He doesn't forget anything. And it's the kind of thing when you have a brother or sister and they start telling the story and you are part of the story, but they're not telling it the way you remember it.
Yeah, right.
I say to my sister, Smokey, no, that's not what we were going to Catalina Island. Anyway, so Paul and I have had a lot of experiences like that. And we, as I said, I didn't have a brother in real life. And I loved getting Paul, and he was a wonderful brother. And we have stayed very, very close. We did this show the other day, but and he was with the Donna Reed Foundation for many years too. So all of us, sort of combined. But I talked to him last night on the phone, as a matter of fact.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's it's wonderful. You're just instantaneously back where you were all those years ago. So Gail, I hope I answered your question.
You answered that question wonderfully. And by the way, I've had Paul on twice. In fact, I haven't released our second interview. I think I'm doing that this coming week. Oh. But I could have him on again. It's kind of like you. I could have you guys on again. You both are just so much knowledge and so much, just really, really interesting. And Paul, my gosh, you're right. He can remember things down to the pen that he was using. I mean, it's just amazing.
Absolutely correct. It's absolutely correct. It's just astonishing. Through the years, I have been in situations where he would, just like I said about my sister, Paul would start telling a story, and I think, did we do that?
Right.
And but I have learned better than to say to him, "Oh, I don't remember that," because the more he talks about it, I remember it. And anyway, he is. You could have him on every day for a long, long time and never run out of stories.
Oh yeah, no, I'm with you. Okay, we'll go on to our next one. We haven't even gotten through the first page, by the way.
Oh gosh! Oh my gosh!
So this is from Paul. Mike, you made quite a few TV movies. I would be interested in hearing your experiences working in Vanishing Act with Elliott Gould and Margot Kidder, Prime Suspect with Terri Garr, and Private Sessions, where you played a psychiatrist, a pilot for a TV series.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I was pretty impressed with the background on that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, where do I start? Terri, sadly, has just passed. And,
yeah, I saw that.
Wonderful actress, sweet woman. I loved her and loved working with her. But Private Sessions, God, I wish that had become a television series. I love the idea of being a shrink and getting into people's heads and solving problems and that sort of thing. I was sorry that, I thought I loved doing the show, but I'm sorry it didn't become a series.
Oh, you were perfect for that. I could see casting you in about 2 seconds as that. Wow.
I agree.
And the other one he mentioned was what?
Vanishing Act with Elliott Gould.
With Elliott, yeah. Elliott Gould is a character in and of himself.
Yes.
Always, never to be forgotten. We did that up in Banff. A lot of it shot
Oh,
it up.
Canada.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, beautiful. Margot Kidder, I loved. She was just fabulous, wonderful, wonderful actress. I'll tell you a story that's not. It's about Elliott, but it's not Elliott. If I can do that.
Sure.
After when I joined MASH, replacing Wayne Rogers, one of the things I said to the people when we had the meeting is I wouldn't be interested in coming into the show and becoming Trapper John.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Oh, no, of course not." And that was whole stories out of that. But I went to an event in Hollywood, a political event, and I had done the show, and I was into the first season, so people knew who I was, and that I was part of the show. And I had never met Wayne Rogers, and I walked into this event where there were just a whole bunch of people, and right down in the aisle ahead of me, standing, talking to someone, was Wayne Rogers. So I walked up and I stood beside him for a minute. He finished conversing with the first person he was talking to. And he turned to me and he said, "I'm getting tired of people thinking I'm you." And I said, "Yeah, I got the same problem."
Wow. What a great moment.
It was great. It was terrific. And we laughed. And he said, he said, "I met Elliott Gould one time. And Elliott said to me, 'Are you being me or are you being the other guy?'" And Wayne said, "I said to him, 'I'm being you.'" And Elliott said, "Oh, I liked me better." The coda to the story is Wayne turned to me and he said, "I want to tell you, I like you better."
Oh, wow.
Which was one of the sweetest things. It just knocked me out.
Yeah.
It tells you who Wayne Rogers was. But I love that story because it also tells you who Elliott Gould is.
Right. Exactly.
Elliott is a nutbag, and he always had. Whether you're talking to him in a union meeting or you're talking to him on a set, he's an interesting, talented nutbag.
Yeah. He's one of those people too. Whenever he was on the screen, he just kind of steals the moment, he's not even talking. You can't help but like looking over there, That's funny. Oh, that was good. That was cool. Whatever. Okay. And then Shelley, you and I talked a little bit about the Brian Keith show in the first interview, but Paul says I would be interested in hearing from Shelley about anything regarding working with Brian Keith on the Brian Keith show. Anything in particular that your feelings of Brian Keith?
Yes. I really liked Brian a lot. I think he's a wonderful actor, or was a wonderful actor. And I liked the setup of the show. I thought playing his daughter, but also a real doctor, it's all was sweet. And we were living in Hawaii, so we got to film in Hawaii for the 2 years that we did the show. But Brian was a fascinating character. He would often just not talk to anybody who was on the set or part of the crew, and I thought, gee, that's odd.
Yeah.
And I can't. But when somebody's not talking back with you, it's sort of hard to bring up the conversation. Anyway, but we did the show for 2 years, I guess. And over the course of the years, I really began observing him. And he was he was a shy man. I think when he started out, he was young when he started out. And I think he just had that innate sense of shyness in him. And now I met him during a particular time in his life, and we all go through changes, and we
Sure.
into different people. But when I worked with him, I thought he was fascinating. I didn't know why he didn't talk to anybody. First I thought, well, it's just me. He doesn't talk to me, so I don't know who else. But I found out that he didn't talk. But here's how he talked. He would, somebody would start a conversation, and he would say, he was big. He was like you said about Telly, he's.
Yeah.
And there was Brian, who was, this big guy and kind of rough voice. And somebody would start a story, and he'd say, that reminds me of, I was doing a movie one time. We were on location in Utah, and and the story starts, and he wove magical tales out of the stories he told about working and the things that he experienced during that time. And it was very you found out who he was by the stories he would tell. He wouldn't start conversations, but he would tell wonderful, and he's Irish, so he's he had that great Irish charm to him. And so I really enjoyed him a lot, and learned a lot from him. I was very lucky to work with him, and he was really, really a fine actor.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
I can't remember who asked that question. Was that?
Let's see. That was Paul.
Oh, that was Paul.
Well, just kind of funny that it was Paul.
I said it was Paul. Okay.
This is from Mary Gold. This is from Mike. Did the cast of MASH get along well together? It looked like you were having so much fun.
Yeah, because we were. we were having a ball, and we got along very well. I didn't know. I was afraid when I was cast that because the show had a reputation for being the cast had a reputation for being very close. I thought, God, maybe they're going to think of me as this sort of interloper. How dare I come in and
Yeah, I could see it.
I was taken care of to some degree. By the night I got this job, Alan called me and he said, would you have dinner with me? And we sat for hours, which was just like paradise for me, to listen to this guy and ask him questions and have him tell me what he wanted from the show. And it was just fabulous.
Wow.
So I felt, okay, I'm okay, at least with him. And then went on to the set the first day thinking, I don't know how they're going to feel about it. And first person that came up, stuck out his hand, was Gary Berghoff, said, Mike, we're really thrilled to have you here. Loretta was next, and then Bill Christopher, and then Jamie, I'm sorry. And they just let me know that I was welcome and that it was, we're going to all go on together. And it became, as Shelley said, a lot of people talk about their experience with a bunch of people doing a show together over time. It becomes like a family. Well, it really did. We would work till late hours on Friday night. You always work late Friday because that's when you have to get everything that you didn't get done. And then we'd go home, and Saturday we'd collect our families and we'd come and have dinner together.
Wow.
It was such a warm, wonderful experience, never to be repeated. Who knows? I say never to be repeated, and yet, I loved the people I worked with on Providence. Thank you. But it was never the same. Melina used to ask me that. Is this like working on MASH? I said, yeah, but yeah. But yeah, no, it was, we did jokes, we did tricks on each other, we played pranks on each other, we had fun with each other, we just had a ball.
Hope you enjoyed the first episode of this interview. As I said, there is a second episode and a third episode to come, where Shelley and Mike answer even more fan questions. It's really amazing. So please watch for those. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming interviews.